All right, everybody, it's a dose of Dr. Drew Part 2 with K. Smythe.
Back and it's all of Susan's
Oh,
fancy.
wait, no, Mike for you, sorry.
Kay's not back. I'm back. Kay's not back.
I'll just
So
shout.
I'm
all
not
of Susan's fancy camera work.
I was having so much fun, and we had 3 cameras. It was moving around, and all of a sudden,
They're asking that you be more in front of your mic. I noticed there are a lot of calls for that. So there
yeah,
you
you
go.
got to talk into the
There
mic.
you go.
Okay,
Sorry
so
that I
I'm
brought
sorry,
the
you guys.
earrings.
I wanted to, and we're blaming everything on Nadav, by the way.
Yeah, Nadav. I mean, come on, native. Here we go, man. This is your mom's house
I
reference.
have, okay, I can get the Canon now. I've got 2. I unplugged one of the cameras.
Oh, look at that.
So, yeah, we'll see how long that
Don't
lasts.
give my. You should have left Kay's close up, not mine. Who
Well,
cares about me?
I plugged in a new cam link today, but I just don't know if it's a smart idea.
All right, so
we have 2 now. That's
all right.
it.
So before we dropped off,
Well, when you yell at people, I like you to look in the camera and yell at them for saying mean things to you.
Okay.
I've never seen you yell. That was like really traumatizing for me.
I know, me too. He doesn't yell at me like that either. So
I just get upset sometimes when people
are dicks.
when
I mean, people can be
people
so
are
fucking
at their
rude.
worst. I feel like they need to be pulled back a little bit.
See,
it's like, hey, stop it. Stop making assumptions about anything.
Right.
And just stop it. I by the way, now I'm going to open myself to this, but I tend not to get mad at people saying bad things about me because I'm used to that.
Yeah, that's
it's
okay.
more when it's uncalled for or unfair. It's like just stop it. Hey, let's just
Oh, yeah. I've had clients who will like send me paragraphs of like abusive emails, and I'm like, hey, that's not what I show up for work to.
Right,
like,
you have to kind of
receive.
pull back sometimes.
How
and go, "Come on
motherfucking
now."
dare you bag of dicks.
Well, be careful. Be careful. Don't get too carried away.
Oh my God, we
know.
were on Heather McDonald's podcast, and she wanted to know about I don't know. She started saying some stuff, and I was reading her feed, and I don't usually do podcasts, and I don't like reading the feeds, but it's the guys that come in, they're like, oh, Susan Pinsky is annoying, and you look and they have 0 followers. It's like they just go out and do that all day long, and I'm laughing at it, but it's like you put yourself out there, and you have to expect that that's what's going to happen.
Well,
you know?
I interviewed Tommy Lahren earlier this year, who, by the way, big shout out to Tommy. The shit that she has to deal with, like, there are no role models, by the way, for her and what she does. So, like,
you know what? I
massive
listened to her
props.
interview with you, no disrespect from Tommy, but I used to find her more sort of shibboleth oriented, like empty slogans.
Yeah.
And when she talked to you, I found her a little more thoughtful than I heard in a long time.
a shibboleth is an empty slogan?
Isn't that what that kind of is? Like, isn't that kind of what that is?
It's it's like a biblical reference, right?
Yeah,
it's like if you really
it's like
know God, then you know the word shibboleth.
but it's sort of empty, and it's sort of and the repetitive slogans. Let's put it that way. And I found her thoughtful with your interview, and I particularly kind of liked what she said about having liberal friends and sharing ideas with them. And I was like, well, that's, if Tommy Lahren can find a common ground with people on the left side, that's a great sign. So I dug that you guys were talking about that.
And honestly, I'm so glad that you brought that up, because that was one of the most, like, I've been wanting to interview her forever. So it was like a dream come true for me. And then, we've kind of stayed in touch since. And I mean, I've gotten, like, I actually wrote an article, like the amount of, like, I had close personal friends text me and be like, I can't believe you interviewed Tommy, like, you're going to the dark side, before the interview came out.
Right.
Literally.
I thought it was a good interview. It was a good. That's the thing. We all have to
She's
listen to
so
interviews from
nice.
all sides of all types of people.
Yeah, it's like,
I
why
recommend
don't
it
we stop
highly.
judging each other and just like learn about what we have in common.
And I wouldn't necessarily have said that about Tommy a year or 2 ago, because I thought it was just sort of like repetitive stuff. But she seemed very thoughtful with you. Andrew Ashkashvili, there won't be enough doses at the beginning for either elderly or the working class. We have to pick one. You are correct, sir. And I before we froze up, I was starting to say that I think there's going to be a tiered system for healthcare providers also. I'm not sure. I'm wondering where I'm going to fit on the tier system, so I'm sort of anxious to get it if I can. But if there's a tier, I will cooperate with the tiered system. And so I'm betting it's going to be first, very frontline healthcare providers, and the very elderly in nursing homes. That's going to be number one. Now, I don't quite know how it's going to work because I keep hearing that it's going to be distributed through hospitals. So I'm not quite sure how that's going to work. So I'll keep you posted as I hear about it. But you're right. We're only going to have about 10 million vaccines, maybe 20 million if we're lucky. And
Is that it?
For
First round?
in the next couple of weeks, yeah. But I am deeply troubled by what you told us about the FDA waiting till the first week of December to evaluate this. This is an emergency. What in the hell are they
Do you
doing?
know what?
I know.
I guarantee it's just because someone booked a holiday over
Possibly,
Thanksgiving,
yes.
and
It
they
could be.
can't
They're
be
the ones
bothered
telling us not to
cancel it.
travel, though.
Yeah.
So don't travel and stay home and do these studies for us. Really evaluate this stuff.
Oh, this is like the year of hypocrisy, though. Let's be
Oh,
honest.
yes,
Don't
it
go to the
is.
hair salon. I got
Susan,
one of those.
There's Kay. Okay, good. They are great. The blue mics are great.
That was just a little plug.
But I'm going to go.
Okay, this is, by the way, this is fucking bullshit, OBS, okay? I need a phone call. Okay,
From who?
anyways,
We need to switch to Streamlabs.
I'm having
Who do you want to
Zoom
call you?
problems yesterday. It flipped off all my switches, and today and I can't call my tech guy because it's Saturday, and I'm giving him a day off, so.
Okay, a couple things. Anthony Brown, you've changed your name to Anthony Howard Brown, but I know it's you because you're saying groovy, and you're the only guy I know that says groovy. And Lolo Locomotive, I tried to answer your question many minutes ago when we froze the first time. And this is an interesting thing for Kay, which is the CDC does not recommend school shutdown. The idea of school shutdown came from a 14-year-old in New Mexico. I've described it before in this thread in 2004. It was a high school science project. You don't know this? Oh, yes. It has a history, like most things.
Wow.
A young lady put together a very nice science project in 2004 where she modeled school closures to prevent spread of influenza, which is a very different virus with a very different spread pattern. And her father, who was a Los Alamos laboratory computer scientist, said, oh, that's interesting. I bet I could build a model for a little more widespread kind of lockdown for a pandemic. He published a paper in 2006, I think it was. He put his daughter as the number 2 author, a 16-year-old now. And the Bush administration adopted it as pandemic policy.
Obviously, the Bush administration.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah, well, I don't know what they were thinking, but
with fish and do this.
So that became policy, but never before in history had you, and we have Kelly Victory on here every once in a while, who is a very opinionated physician, and she has public health training from Harvard, and she said you can go through any of my textbooks, you will not find lockdown, you will not find school closure, you will not find social distancing even. And these are all just ideas that are flying around that have no science behind them. None.
Do you know what's that's not only mind-blowing, but it also just triggered the thought. So I work, even if like I only have like a couple of hundred clients that I keep on my permanent roster.
Yeah.
I do have every day I speak to at least 5 new people who are looking to get their doctorates, and not a single in the span of a year, after talking to thousands of candidates, not a single person has pitched doing any kind of study related to lockdown, school closures, or social distancing, because they're not scientifically valid, because the data isn't out there. You couldn't write, so like when you do your PhD dissertation, your second chapter is traditionally your literature review, which is where you have to take like at least 80 peer-reviewed papers and use them to justify the need for your study and why your study is going to fill a gap in understanding. And if there's no evidence to support them,
You wouldn't do the study.
exactly.
So interesting, really interesting frame on this. So here we are now. So the CDC has never recommended school closure, and they're pointing it out over and over again. And when the school closures happened in Los Angeles, I was talking to one of the school board guys. I said, who is the physician that's mandating this? Where are you getting your advice from? Where is this coming from? It's all arbitrary. It's all random. It's all neuroticism. And so the mental...
conspiracy theories come from.
Well, yeah, I get that. But back to the mental health, they're making these decisions that are really quite random. And I get right now that the caseload, I mean, we're really in a case demic, and the death rates are starting to go up and stuff, and we need to do something. I agree we need to do something. But exactly what we need to do, they should be honest. They're just sort of trying things to see if they can get people to comply and behave and distance. And the thing may just go up and down on its own. We don't know. We have no idea what's going up, really. We think we know, but we really don't know. And when it goes down, I think it's because we change our behavior, but maybe it just goes down because that's the epidemiology of the virus.
That's just what's always meant to happen.
But in the meantime, the mental health has been profoundly affected. Opiate addiction, alcoholism, suicide, just off the chain.
Domestic abuse, child abuse.
Thank you. And then God only knows what is happening to the 18 to 15-year-olds who are not able to have socio-emotional development and cognitive development because they're not going to school.
Do you know what's crazy is I was actually about to start production on a docuseries right before COVID hit. And I was going to literally be going from state to state, talking to local people about what they essentially felt was contributing. So even before COVID, I don't know if people knew this, but suicide had become the #1 cause of death for a lot of young people. I mean, like in Utah, the #1 cause of death for 10 to 15-year-olds was suicide at that point. Yeah.
Wow.
And so I was working with a number of brilliant people on this project that, you know, obviously got shut down because you can't travel from state to state.
Yeah.
Interviewing people on this stuff right now. Maybe that'll be a 2022 project. We'll see. But I mean, that was a crisis well before this pandemic. And I mean, I've lost friends.
It's got to be doubled.
I've dealt with my own, like, I mean, I've definitely drunk more this year than the last couple of years.
And I've been depressed a lot of this. What's the matter, Susan?
I'm with you there.
Yeah, Susan's reaching for stuff. And Anthony Brown, of course, Anthony Brown is the former homeless guy. Have you ever seen Anthony? And he's on the thread here today, and he's a psychiatric nurse, and he's actually a nursing director of a large residential program. And he was talking about, he's commenting on my comment about lockdowns. He said, no, we do have a study on lockdowns. It's called Jails and Prisons. and guess what? It's not good. It's not good.
Yeah.
Very,
and that's
very
what
good.
we've done. We've turned our major cities into, like, I think I even said this on at least one of your shows. Like, we've literally turned Los Angeles into an open air prison.
Well, asylum in my opinion.
Asylum, yeah, that's a much better
Bradley
way of putting
Smythe,
it.
I'm an internist and addictionologist. I'm an assistant clinical professor of psychiatry and internal medicine, and I had a professorship in pediatrics as well. Thank you, Bradley Smythe. You're a very knowledgeable person. I'm really tired of people's shit right now. I really am. I can't stand it.
I mean,
I can't stand it. It's just people are attacking all the time unnecessarily, seemingly out of just a desire to be shit, to be shitty.
Yeah, people have
What
just
is
gone,
that?
they've just turned up that fucking cunt dial just like to 11, and it's all day.
See,
every
this is
day.
why I brought Case Smythe on here. I knew I'd feel better.
But it is.
She's the only one who can
though.
use that word.
It's like,
without getting us in trouble.
I always like to say, like, I was even saying, I felt so bad for my guest yesterday. He was like, "How've you been?" I was like, "Really fucking cripplingly lonely," and I didn't realize how lonely I had gotten this year until, like, probably actually the last week or so. It really hadn't hit me.
Say that again. I want to make sure I hear you.
Well, I just, for me personally, I hadn't realized how lonely I had become.
Is it?
You should have called me.
Yeah, you can come
I'm
visit
terrible
us.
at that. Well, I'm gonna move in now. So
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
We got room back here. But we're all living like drug addicts. We're isolating.
Completely.
Yeah, and that's a very, very unhealthy
But I've been
thing.
living like that for years.
Do you know the one thing I will say though that has
Well, you
come
are
out
a
of
drug
this
addict.
pandemic?
I'm kidding.
No, but I've been living like one. You know?
No, you're not, because
Until the kids went to college.
Well, you were living like a indentured servant. That was a
Do you know
different
what
thing.
though? Like, I'm
Yeah.
at a point though in my life, like as a young person, I didn't think I would hit 27 and be like, oh shit, I've got the career. I could get the house if I wanted to, not in LA. Like, I just can't. Maybe out here in
It's too
Pasadena, though.
expensive.
I was just
Good luck.
looking at a few places
Yeah,
around
good.
here
It's
that
nice
were
here.
really
It's
cute.
nice.
The
good.
prices are shooting up.
But it's like, if I'm going to be stuck at home, again, having this conversation with my guest yesterday, he was like asking, what's next, like, in your plans? And I was just like, I've done everything I've ever wanted to do. The next step for me is absolutely starting a family. And if I'm going to be stuck at home for the next decade, I better have some, like, little sprogs running around to keep me entertained. Because, like, what the
Sprogs?
fuck else is
Kids.
there to do?
Sprogs?
They're called sprogs in Wales.
Interesting.
Sprogs.
Interesting. Very interesting.
But, you know, it's
That's a dog and a frog.
yeah, basically that's what my children are going to be. It's not going to be the cats. It's going to be. But no, it's sad. Like, if you don't have people at home, which most people who live
Right.
in cities, you don't have a lot of people at home. Like, I've been stopped from going to visit my family back in the UK. My cousin just gave birth to my first ever niece.
No.
Big shout out to Marley. You fucking legend already. Your parents are the best, and I don't know what I would do without them. But, you know, it's it's really like, so I have, my parents live in Wales, right? And
Yeah.
there's a bridge to get into England. You just go across the Severn Bridge and then you're in England. People are being stopped from crossing the bridge. And that, to me,
That's
is
so
the most
weird.
dystopian shit under the sun.
But now hang on. So my understanding of what Britain did was they locked down movements in certain hours, certain day
locked
parts.
down movements almost as arbitrarily and hysterically
Yes,
as California.
yes. But it was but their version of lockdown was you can go to school, you can go to work, you just can't move around after 6 p.m. Right? Isn't that sort of
kind of? There was also like so I will admit my parents are both retired. They
Yeah.
both like sent me off to university and were like, fuck it, we don't have to pay for a shit anymore. We're not gonna work anymore.
Yeah, right?
I'm so proud of them for that. It was like, it's fucked me up in terms of my development, but who cares? They were very much restricted. Like, you can only have like 5 people in the house. You can't go, like, there's a park literally 2 minutes around the corner from where I was raised, and they were like, oh, you can't go to the park, but on weekends you can go to the park, but on Sundays you can't. But you can go to church, but you can't go to church for more than 20 minutes. But you can go to the pub, which is basically like church for British people.
well, I know, and that's why when they shut the pubs down after a certain hour, that was a
fuck
big
that
deal.
noise.
That was a big deal.
Yeah.
So that's because that's what they were reacting to, and I started thinking they're still going to work, they're still going to school. It's not that different, and we have no work, no school, and lockdown and curfew,
Yep.
both, which I thought
So, Drew, did you talk about the 4,000 cases today?
Oh, God, yeah.
about the numbers today.
Yeah.
About the 4,000 in LA.
Yeah, somebody just said the daily amount of deaths are now approaching daily rates from April, May.
Yes, they are. So
death rates
so
are
I'm not
actually
changing to
gone
the
up
camera with the scroll. I'm sorry, you guys, because I'm afraid it'll shut down.
okay. So the daily death rate is. So I'm looking at the national rate. So the number of cases is, like I said, I knew we were going to get to 200,000, 250,000. We just sort of headed that way. Now the question is, are we going to go to 500,000? That's the really scary thing about this. Where is this virus going to stop? We don't know. Only the virus really knows. Still good news embedded in it, which is in spite of the case rate being respectively 7 times and 4 times the previous peaks, the hospitalization rate is only perhaps 30% higher. So that's good news, and that's in the face of physicians bringing people in, encouraging people in. The bad news, which was, again, the death rate's always a lagging indicator, is the death rate is heading up towards 2,000 a day, and also does not seem to be letting up. That's, again, the problem with the current outbreak is not so much the absolute numbers, but where is it going? What's it doing? How is this going to get stopped? And I was messing around. I showed Kay some of the stuff before we went on air here. And the numbers are kind of interesting and confusing. Each state is different. I heard you talking about, I think you mentioned it maybe on this show, or maybe it was listening to on another one where you said how each state is like a different country. And this
completely.
Yeah. And you look at the epidemiology, and indeed, it's almost like you're looking at different countries. We were, before the mics heated up, we were looking at Washington, D.C., where the fatality rate was 3.6%. And then we were looking at Utah, where it's 0.5%.
Which,
and it's
yeah.
there's massive differences in fatality rates, and no one's really going at it and trying to explain that. I'd like to know.
I can explain it.
Tell me. Well, go ahead.
Well, okay, so actually, and I say this, I've actually spent a lot of time in Utah this year. A brilliant state. Huge shout out to Utah. Sorry if I know like people from Utah hate when I talk about Utah, because they're like, don't fucking tell people how good it is here.
I know.
But,
especially Californians, because they'll just
my
go
gosh.
because they're looking for an escape hatch.
And it is the best escape. And like, people in Utah are just the salt of the earth. But it's so spread out. Like, it is so...
Yeah,
There's so much space
the
between
streets to
homes.
walk. If you're out in town and need to cross the street, it's a long way to the other side of the street,
It's
right?
a heck of a long way. I
Yeah,
know,
that's
like,
what I noticed
It's
about
getting
Salt Lake
cold
City.
there. It's starting to chill up.
It
know?
was
It's
20
cold.
degrees with 2 feet of snow when I was there 2
Wow.
weeks ago,
Yeah.
and I loved it.
But let me go to California, which
used
is
to
sort of
ski
where
there a
I'm
lot.
very focused because I'm here. But the
megalopolis.
case rate has gone up now to where it was in July, so we're back where we were in July. The hospitalization rate is less than half what it was in July, but we might get there. The death rate, which is going down steadily since the end of July, finally has plateaued, but may have turned up, and that's kind of bad news. We're at 106 deaths yesterday. Where are we today? 91 today, 106 the day before, and we were that's still not markedly. In July, we were up around 220. So we'll see where is it going? Where is it going? But what's interesting about California is the graphs. I'm going to show California, right? California is locked down. We are being threatened with our lives every day by our health provider, by the public health department, that they're going to prevent us from going outside. They're going to lock us down, make us stay home, which is by the way, where the disease transmission occurs. But now look at Florida. Florida's totally open, right? Completely open. Look at the graphs. I'm going to keep the California one in your head.
Oh, I can't.
They're the same, right? Aren't they the same?
I mean, this one.
The hospitalization one is way better.
I was going to say that.
Yeah, that's what caught your eye, I'm sure. But I'm thinking more like this. Their outbreak is almost identical to California. Their death rate has gone right down since end of July, and has turned up a little bit here. But the graphs are almost exactly the same, except for that peak they had in the summer. The hospitalization rate was much higher there.
Because people are happier in Florida.
I don't know. They're totally open. We're totally closed, but our graphs look exactly the same, and that to me is curious. Well, there's lots of curious things happening. Go ahead.
One of the things that I get told a lot of stuff because I think because I had such a background in journalism, a lot of people are like, I can't say this publicly. Please, can you and then protect me as a source? So I have a lot of sources who work in hospitals, particularly here and then up in Oakland.
Okay.
And a lot of the nurse practitioners that I work with, a lot of the doctors who I work with, they're all like, oh yeah, if we write, and I hate this because it's like one of those conspiracy theory things.
But go ahead.
But it's like, oh, this person contracted COVID while they were in the hospital because they came in because they had a broken arm, and then they came back a week later, they have COVID now.
Okay.
So even though they originally came in for a broken arm, we're going to report it as COVID, and like, even though it's not COVID.
Well, but I will say,
I thought that was a conspiracy theory. But
there isn't. There is a systematized issue. Let me tell you what it is. And I've always defended hospitals for this, because when the COVID outbreak occurred, hospitals shut everything down. That was the first thing, that they shut down all their usual surgeries and care of patients except emergencies.
I remember, because I was going through a cancer screening and they were like, no. And
right.
I was like, oh.
And that would have put hospitals out of business. We would have had no hospitals.
Yeah.
So the government said, in order to keep hospitals afloat, we're going to let you put COVID for everything that's even marginally COVID, and we're going to reimburse you highly for it. Okay. So you focus. So it was a convention,
but this
not
is
a conspiracy, a
when
convention.
You have a healthcare industry, not a healthcare service.
That is a much bigger conversation. That is a much bigger conversation.
That will definitely
but I will tell you, but one of the advantages to having an industry and not a system is our ability to improvise and do research and come up with novel approaches and treatments and vaccines. So we really killed it on that front. And I knew we would.
Britain is crazy dependent on America for that. I had no idea. I have a cousin, big shout out to Keith. Sup, Keith. But Keith Harris, he's, I like to say, I don't really know what his job is, but I know he's very big up in Big Pharma. He was with Sanofi. I think he's with someone new now.
Good.
And he said the same thing. And I mean, I think it's very telling that like two Welsh country folk who, I mean, we literally couldn't do our jobs in the UK because there is no call for that depth of research. And so that is the one thing to all my British listeners that we need to thank America for, is that most of the medical marvels that have come out in the last at least 50 years have come from the research here, because there's more money.
And I, I'm involved in medical research a bit through the Prostate Cancer Foundation. Shout out to pcf.org. And I get to see where all the really cool oncological research is getting done, and a lot of it's here. But there's a bit in London, but there's a lot in China right now. A lot in China going on. So the center of gravity is sort of shifting a little bit. Now, when our system directs our attention to something, no one does it better. So the COVID thing has been here, but there's a lot of stuff going on. I mean, if we like this response, we should remember it next time we start taking aim at our healthcare system. So,
but what do you think it actually is? So, like, one of the things that I would argue, and I'm just going to throw this out there, and I'm going to sound like a complete novice, and you can clarify this for me. So, Florida, technically tropical. California, definitely not.
Desert.
How does that play into, like, have any studies
COVID?
done into, like, how climate affects?
Yes and no. there's lots of speculation, particularly about the northern climates having issues. Like right now, where it's cold and northern, and there's lots of things that go into a northern climate besides temperature, but Minnesota, Michigan, Wisconsin getting clobbered right now.
Do you think that's more to do with the fact that like it's so
We don't know.
highly linked to like okay?
There was a bunch of demonstrations there. There was the Sturgis motorcycle thing. The people are just wondering. Watch that guy John Campbell. Yeah, I think you'd like him. He's
will.
out of the northern of England. Oh, I'm reading this great book I wanted to discuss with you called Albion Seed. And do you know that an old name for Britain used to be Albion?
Yeah.
I did not know that, but now I know that. and it's talking about the 4 great immigrations out of Britain.
Mine.
You're maybe one of them. Well, your type is definitely one of them because one of the really important immigrations, and you may take offense to this, is sort of the Welsh Irish kind of Welsh Irish Scottish thing. Particularly Scotch Irish, and I'm reading that history right now.
All of us filthy alcoholics.
Survivors, warlords.
Well, we were traded as like the Welsh were traded as slaves in the Americas like about 2,000 years ago or something.
I'm not sure it was that long ago.
Yeah,
I'm not sure but bottom line, there was the Puritans out of sort of Eastern England. There was the Quakers out of sort of southern western.
It was like Cornwall area. Yeah.
Yes. And they had a whole different culture and a whole different set of values and things. And there was a middle zone. Oh, the aristocrats that came out of sort of the king was granting to,
That's what we like to call the Southeast.
That's Virginia, right? But then the maniacs settled in North Carolina. Yeah.
That's not people. It's so funny. I was actually looking at North Carolina as on my list of places to move.
And Andrew Jackson was a descendant of all this stuff, and so there was a extremely I want to come up with a good word. You may have it. Because I don't want to. Because they were also smart and survivors, all kinds of things about them that were very high quality, but they were
anarchists.
They were maniacs. Yeah, they were maniacs. And if they wanted a wife, they went and stole one. And if they wanted to form coalitions, they did. And then then the really, really crazy amongst them decided to put their family in a wagon and come west. That's the really crazy one. Here you are. Well done.
But that's why I love this country, though, right? It's like I get it all the time from people. Oh, you're not a real immigrant. You're not a real immigrant. Blah,
what does
blah,
that
blah.
mean?
I don't even fucking know at this point.
I'm curious what that would mean.
Trust me, if I get arrested, I get deported. I'm an immigrant.
You're an immigrant.
But it's fascinating to me because like I went to Pennsylvania a couple of years ago, and there were people with like Welsh flags up.
Yeah.
And that I love, and like West Virginia, all the coal mining people.
But what's good and bad about us came from England.
Oh, yeah, the worst. I mean, like, look at us. It's all the people who were disregarded by society. And, like, you've got to understand, like, England is one of the worst places in the world.
Except when it's the best.
Terrible.
Except when it's good.
I don't
Well,
know.
here's what I realized a long time ago. I went over there and I thought, the reason this country survived is a bunch of British people set up the institutions. These are British institutions that we started with, and that's what really.
We got the Raj. We did this all over the world.
No, I know, but we took it. We really we were, but to be fair, yes, it was all the cast-offs except Virginia. Virginia was the sort of aristocrats were granted land by the king, and that was the source of the plantation society and all that horrible stuff. And so
England, see the Southeast,
I know,
can't trust them.
I know. But by this, it's so fascinating. And then what's interesting, we've had, I'm from Ukrainian descent.
Really?
And we've had all these other immigrations, right, to this country, and obviously people from the Southern Americas and Central Americas. We all know that there's lots of mixing going on here from the Pacific and all over the place. But what this book was making the point of is that we're still under the sway of those basic cultures that came from England. Even if you came from Taiwan, you're still affected, depending where you're living, by the architecture, by the religious practices, by the genetics that's flying
they're
around.
blaming us for that?
Not blaming, not
Okay, so I
blaming.
just wanna throw this
I
out
wouldn't call it
there.
a blame, just sort of explaining rather than blaming.
England only exists because of the freaking Romans. Like, they gave
Yeah.
us the aqueduct, they gave
And the
us...
Normans, and the
I mean,
Normans.
the Normans, yeah, they definitely piggybacked off the Romans as well, though.
And the French Scottish. The French, they brought some pretty interesting stuff. I really, to me, that's the most intriguing story of the whole thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because that's such a unique genetic thing, and it was refined by years of genocidal assault
Yep.
by the English.
That pretty much
Yeah.
defines how we like to go about
Yeah.
doing our business.
Yeah.
We just like to come in, pillage. Like, there was this great line in The Last Kingdom where all the
Last
guys...
Kingdom of
like,
Wales?
It's a TV. I think it's
Okay.
on Netflix, maybe.
Okay, Last Kingdom.
But it's based on like how England came to be England, like how we fought the
Oh, see, I have
Danes
to
and
watch
got rid
this
of
now.
them.
I
Oh,
have to watch this.
it's a lot of fun. It's a
Is
great
it
show.
a fictionalized thing, or is
Yeah.
they're
But-
called The Last Kingdom?
Lightly based on reality.
That's good enough for me.
But there's this brilliant line in it where I can't remember if it's like even the Danes or the English. They come back to their fort or whatever, and one of the main guys is like, "You were just in Wales. You just like fought this huge battle. Where are the women?" And the guy goes, "No, they were Welsh. They fought back." And I'm like, "Yeah, that's what we're known for. We were
And
these."
the Scottish too,
Yeah.
where the women would go into battle too. Yes,
It's-
yeah, and
it's
and
not
I
something we're
I
afraid
sort of
of.
value all that, even though a lot of psychopathology came along with it. It's okay.
But you're
And-
also like, I mean, you are also married to a very strong intellectual woman.
But that's Shaq. That's sort of my heritage.
But
right?
that's the thing, right? It's
I'm
like
just
it's
a
that
survivor.
same-
Yeah, that's
We talk
another
about this a
survivor
lot
thing. That
about-
Central Europe thing, the sort of northern Central Europe. That's sort
We
of
survived the Holocaust.
I was
in
going to
Prague.
say, well,
many
that's
things.
my
Many things.
We have
They-
good
Gypsy
genetics for that.
Jew ancestry also survived
It's
the
so
Holocaust.
interesting.
Yeah.
Leo Prusky has a question. Did you see
What did he ask? Leo, there you are. Ask Kay if the woke left has doxed her and tried to cancel her because of her article.
Oh.
Tommy Lahren interview proves leftists are hypocrites.
100%. And it's so funny as well, right? Because like the purpose of my show, because I was like, I don't want to be in the public eye. But
And
if
by the
I'm
way,
gonna be, then I'm gonna be.
I would urge you to go listen to that interview because that title does not characterize what I heard. But go ahead.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
I mean, I was just gonna say, like, the whole purpose of my show is like, look, I come from like a socialist state. I understand how socialism works because if it weren't for socialism, I wouldn't be here today.
You know who else said
But-
that was
What, you left it because you didn't like it?
I didn't like it because I couldn't make any fucking money.
Oh.
And I was like, I don't want to be somewhere where I'm going to literally bleed into my career and maybe be able to afford a piece of shit house. Like, no, go to America, realize the real opportunity. That's why this country is so fucking great.
You know, Simona Mangiante said the exact
Oh, I
same
love
thing.
Simona.
She said the exact thing. She
Oh.
said, look, I benefited from socialism. I worked for a socialist leader. I was able to go to law school because of socialism. It blows.
Yeah, it
blows.
sucks. And that's why
So-
that's another reason why I freaking love Simona. Like,
Yeah.
what an angel.
Interesting person.
And she has put up with far more than certainly I have even come close to in terms of being harangued. And like, this is something that, again, I feel like I get really angry about because at the end of the day, like, I don't want to judge people for any shit they do. So long as what you do doesn't hurt another person, you couldn't pay me to care. Like, just be happy. That's all I care about. If you're happy and you're healthy,
Yeah.
I'm happy.
Yeah,
And
well,
that's the
that's
point
my
of the
thing.
show.
That's my thing. Agency should be admired. Freedom should be admired.
Yeah.
We should be not interested in controlling other people. I don't think.
Well, it's like you're just going to make yourself miserable. You're going to make the other person miserable. And like, that's how like murders happen.
Yeah.
It's like when you try to exert that kind of control over the ideology of anyone else, you're just going to make yourself miserable. You're just going to hurt the other person. Like, we can all get along if we stop
weird.
judging one another
Oh,
for
yes.
like what's inside of our minds. Like,
Well,
if it
that's the other
doesn't
thing.
physically
The
hurt you,
mind reading,
stop talking about it.
the thinking, you know what's going on in other people's minds. Let me tell you, as a clinician,
Mm-hmm.
you cannot read minds. You cannot read minds. Do not assume what another person is thinking. Let them tell you. That's fine, but you don't get to read minds. That's not fair. That's, I know what's really in your mind. I really know what's in your soul. No, you don't. No, you don't.
Can you
can
tell
ask
that to
about
like every single one of my ex-boyfriends because they all know me so well,
Well, but
so well.
but they've gotten close enough where they might be reading some things that maybe we don't all see. But
I've
okay.
never done anything wrong.
Mi salsa, yes, corrosive. It depends how far this goes, mi salsa. It depends how far it goes. I am predicting it's not going to go that far.
What,
so
what was the question?
she's still asking about the corrosive nature of Trump dragging this election out. It is tiresome, and hopefully people will just like.
It's still just
that's
a
why I think
short-term
that I think I
problem.
mentioned I think he's going to do it. Oh, maybe we were not on the air when I made this explanation. I think he's going to do a George Washington thing. George Washington was modeled after Cincinnatus. People wanted him to be the next monarch, and he said, no, this is a citizen government. I will step down. It's a very important moment. And I think this whole thing may get dragged out to some sort of crisis point, and then you'll see that sort of thing being invoked. Because I think Donald Trump's preparing for 2024. I think that's what's happening.
I was going to say, and this is something I get a lot as well through social media, and it's a big question that comes up, like, what do you think's going to happen? And I'm like, it doesn't really matter. Like, the federal government doesn't give a fuck about you. Like, they don't. Like, if you care about the federal government, you're in an abusive relationship.
Well, that's an interesting point. Let me jump on that and say, I've always said, I have never gotten anything from the federal government. No. Nothing. I
They sent
paid.
the stimulus check
I have
illegally.
paid. Maybe But I get nothing from the federal government. I have paid in my entire life. I look out my window here, and I see a shit ton I get from my local governments. I got a great fire department. I got great Pasadena has great water and power.
Oh, yeah.
We have just garbage. Everything's good in Pasadena. LA County, I got some I'm a little worried about, but okay, I got some stuff good going on with them. California, no. State of California has lost its way. But it has more of an effect on me than the federal government, even so. So, it's funny. That's part of our culture, I think. We are all very bought into the story of our country as America. You know what I mean? And I kind of feel that in my bones, that one of the reasons I've flirted with the idea of running for office is I'm fascinated by Washington D.C. I would love to go there and be a part of that. I'd love to, but I don't really want to. I don't really.
Please.
If it gets bad enough, I'll have to.
No.
I will work with you. I know, Susan, you're going to hate me. I know, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'll stop talking, but like, I would totally.
Anthony Brown, you keep proposing. You're Anthony. You're going negative on me, my friend. Just think happier thoughts. Propose happier alternatives.
Right? It's like we can all.
What did he say? The thing that makes me wonder is
he and I
also
have been going
superpowers
back and
eventually.
forth on a lot of things for the last couple of days, and it's going the wrong direction. We need to pull out of this, my friend.
Do you know what's like disturbing though? Is again, I spend all day, every day working on other people's studies. Like I have a couple of my own, but mostly other people's, and it's in every single field that one could possibly study.
How exciting!
The PhD level.
Yeah.
And actually, I do feel like if we don't kind of pull up our happiness levels, we are actually on the brink. And I don't know how we recover for this kind of macro mental health decline.
Well, I was going to, again, we've been interrupted by technical problems so many times. I was about to make a point in the last little freeze.
Stop reminding me.
Which was, it's not your fault.
I don't know.
It was that, where was I going with this? I completely lost track. I'm seeing
Sorry.
more abusive stuff on the thing here.
Don't look.
We're
We're gonna go anyways because we have stuff to do. But
I want to talk about another 10 minutes or so. That
Okay.
Macro mental health.
I was going to say that I think the little burst I've had of social engagement has been so satisfying that I feel like we might have maybe a few years of sort of a roaring 20s type backlash, don't you think?
I would love
Because
that.
I feel like people are like already we're going on a trip. We're getting the hell out of here. We're going to go, and you want to come with us? Come with us. Let's all go. It's like, let's go. Let's do this. And so I just feel like we may all kind of get this surge of well, first of all, wanting to move around, and secondly, wanting to be socially engaged. I don't know. I feel
that a lot. And it's funny, I was chatting with my friend Ron Brandon, and if you are up in the Bay Area or anywhere in California and you work in cannabis and you need some help with social equity, he's the one to go for. That's Ron Brandon at Kingston Royal, who's been huge. He's come on my show, has been hugely supportive of all of my work. But it's funny, because we work together, we're kind of like forced to communicate, right?
Yeah.
Like we can't not communicate because we'll lose money and then we'll lose our homes.
Right.
And as a result, and he's one of a couple of people who I do this with, we have now built like a much deeper friendship and connection as a result of that. And I feel like I have to do the work to be more grateful for the people I do have in my life, like Brad Williams, another great example, and his brilliant wife Jasmine. But it's the people who you talk to every day. I think we all need to be a lot more grateful and a lot more appreciative of how lucky we are to at least have them, because I think everyone this year, we can all join in the knowledge that we have all lost. We've all missed opportunity. We've all missed out on experience. We've missed out on relationships, on even just like holding hands and touching one another. And that's going to have a really detrimental long-term effect if we don't start just leaning into those relationships that we do have.
100%, 100%. And I feel like there's potential for some good to come out of that along that direction. In fact, I'm having another reaction right now. So let me tell you this. Mi salsa. There we go. I apologize for yelling at you earlier. You clearly have some problems where you evoke stuff from people. You're not hearing anything I'm saying. You have your own assumptions about who other people are, and they are very inaccurate. And you clearly superimpose awful feelings on people who don't reflect those awful feelings. I did not say. I did not say. I did not say I pulled myself up by the bootstraps, though I have been at a full sprint since I was 14. But I've never made an issue of that. What I said was, the federal government has never given me anything. That's what I said. You, my friend, need to listen to people when they talk, because when you superimpose unfair things on people, they react. And that's what I was reacting to. And I apologize for that. But that's on you, not on me.
You just touched on a point that I would love to piggyback off of, that I'm going to steal entirely from Danny Ho, my amazing co-host and manager and, professional and probably personal soulmate at this point. He has all year been harking on this idea of we just need to listen to one another. Just listen. Just take the time to listen to the people around you. And act
salsa is not done yet. So okay.
Yes,
yes.
Fuck the haters.
No, I'll let it go. I started. So yes, I beg your pardon. There are two things I've got in federal government: interstate highway, but most of it has been intrastate because I'm mostly in California. I was gonna say, but that's fine. And number two, defense. I've gotten defense is something that I paid into and got from the federal government. So that's to say nothing is inaccurate. So there you go. But I've never really received anything personally. And no, it's fair enough. It's fair enough.
Oh, you're so nice.
But I've never
over the hyperbole. It's not hard.
So there you go.
Sorry, I deal with this shit all day I spent my entire childhood and school years and I was doing a lot of modeling. And so that kind of blah 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 bullshit, you are so good for pandering to it. I'm not pandering, that's the wrong word entirely. Not pandering, but
I normally don't engage, but once I was engaged, I was engaged, and there you go. And the and I could see kind of what was happening. So,
but you, I think one of the few people who I would say are more mainstream that always come from a place of unconditional love, and it's never from a place of I'm trying to make things worse for you. It's I'm trying to make things easier.
I'm trying to make things better.
So you understand it, so that you're happier.
I'm trying to make things better.
Chamomile cowboy. My salsa is low and loose.
Chamomile cowboy. What a good name.
Chamomile cowboy sounds exactly like the kind of person I need to spend.
It's not high and tight, low and loose.
They're a little confused about Blue TK wants to know about your job again. They're not quite getting what you do. Explain it.
I'm a PhD consultant.
Yes.
Well, I'm a writer and researcher, but my kind of, I like to joke that my equivalent of Uber is I spend all day, every day getting people through their dissertations. So if you've ever done a PhD, you know that there's a process that you have to go through in order to get your final thesis or dissertation approved, published even. And I cover everything within that realm.
That is hard work, my dear. I congratulate you for that. That is because you get to do the work that nobody else wants to do. They're having you do the grunt.
So I think we're going to have you back though soon, Kay. You want to come back tomorrow?
I honestly, if you'll have me, I would love to come back.
Well, we actually tomorrow we have Dr. Ram Yogendra calling in.
Oh, he's brilliant.
He is brilliant.
Yeah. We're going to talk about the the
Well, if you want to come back for that conversation, because you can help us, Yo and I tend to go
how
off
do you
into
say it?
outer space. Remdesivir. No,
Rem-
it's really leronlimab that he gets talking about.
Well, but aren't they doubting the other treatment now? Or
Oh
something?
God, I meant to bring that up too. Let me address that right now, and I'll address it again
Okay,
tomorrow.
and then wait before I finish. On Monday we have the great Mike Catherwood, previously on This Life You Live, everybody out there, and also Loveline. He's going to be on the Zoom chat with our
locals
people on Monday. So look for the link to the Zoom chat. He'll be really fun. He'll be our additional and Kay, you can.
He may bring a little
Zoom.
Rudy.
I'll be here.
Bring a little Rudy with him. So.
Kay's
I
full
would
time.
be here every day if you guys would have me. This is like great.
Careful what you wish for.
She
So
loves it.
let me address this remdesivir study. Have you heard? Of course, the press
I can't even say it. I'm
completely misrepresented a study.
No.
Shocking. So they said the World Health Organization is not approving remdesivir. They're saying it doesn't work. Okay. So I went into the study. I'll tell you about the study in just a second. The study was the most bizarre thing I've ever seen in my whole career. But I went deeper and started looking at some of the other studies by the World Health Organization to understand what they were talking about. And what I found in every study from the WHO was they found evidence that it worked, but it didn't work enough to substantiate the cost. That's really where they were taking aim. So in this study yesterday, they put a panel together of 28 random people, 4 of whom were just patients who had recovered from COVID.
That's not even a clinical Delphi study.
The other 24 were sort of random. None of them were academics or research physicians. 2 of them, I think, were. But it was just a panel they put together. And here is the conclusion of the panel. This is the actual conclusion. Oh, it was so bizarre. Any benefits of remdesivir are likely to be small.
Yeah.
And the possibility of harm remains. Yes, it has renal effects. We know. Yes. But that's all been studied. And the risk reward is definitely on the side of remdesivir. They acknowledge, however, that values and preferences are likely to vary amongst patients. And there will be patients and clinicians who choose to use remdesivir given the evidence has not excluded the possibility of benefit. That is the conclusion of the study.
So
that your
you
values,
you wouldn't even pass your doctorate with that bullshit.
your values are going to determine your clinical choice in therapeutics. That's
Survival
bizarre,
of the
bar.
fittest, darling.
That's so bizarre. So they're saying it probably works, but if your values align with that therapeutic, then you might want to use it if your doctor agrees. To me, that was the most astonishing thing I'd ever read. It's science
Well,
now
that's
has become
sense.
infused with values. There
will
are values
Dr.
to
Yo
be.
have something to say about that?
Who?
Dr. Yo.
Oh, Dr. Yo will have something to say about it tomorrow. He's
Yeah,
got to
that's
read
why-
it though. He won't
Yeah, that's
believe
why-
it.
Can you
That's
You
why
have to
I
go
called him.
read the
as
article.
well?
I
Well,
don't know if
listen,
I
let's have
have-
Kay back because we'll have a full show with her on it. And also on Wednesday, we have the great Jason Ellis coming back
Oh, my
after
God.
his heart surgery. I texted him today and he responded, and like Theo Vaughn didn't, and also a couple of other people. But
Get it
anyway,
together, Theo.
So
there's no love anymore with me and Theo.
Theo.
It's over. It's over. But Jason Ellis and I are good, so he's gonna zoom in.
I want to
Jason's
come
been
on the
doing
next
some-
show you guys do with Steve-O so I can just check that shit off my list.
like
Yeah, that'd be
Steve-O?
fun
He's
too.
my
He wants to do
hero.
the show too.
Oh, he'll probably have you on his podcast if he
I
knew.
would love that. My dad and I, we used to either watch really dark, intense foreign films or Jackass. And
Well-
like he,
Well,
Steve-O,
here, let me
the
give you a
fact
little.
that, like, I get depressed, right? Like, I get miserable, and then I come on Dr. Drew, and it's like, well, you know, the other people I had on the show, like Jim Jeffries and Steve-O, and it's
Yeah,
just
Jim.
like, oh,
Jim wants to
shit.
come on. I just have to call him, but I don't know why.
You're in the corral. You
right.
should feel good about
We
yourself. You're in the
actually- yeah,
stable.
the Poo Cocktail Supreme, I think, is the best thing I've
Okay,
ever
so
seen.
the Pooh Supreme. So that was the shit tank he was in, right? Where they threw it up in the air. Yeah. So here's what I want you to know about that. Go look at put on your retrospectoscope glasses and look back at his previous before that one, and he's loaded. He's wasted in all the previous ones,
yeah.
and they're not as impactful as this was a Jackass 4 or 5,
Yeah.
where he's having emotion. You could see, you could
like,
see how upset he
freaking
is.
out, and it's just like,
And
yeah,
I
dude.
told him, I said, Steve, and it first of all, it's upset me because I could see all the emotion he was having, but second, it was much more engaging.
Oh,
So
completely. I mean, it's like every time I see Johnny Knoxville look genuinely sad, I get really excited, and that's the kind of response that I'm sure would set him up for a lot of abusive relationships.
Johnny's a good guy. He's a really,
Somebody
really,
just
really
asked
good guy.
where they can get the Ask Dr. Drew mugs. I just bought a bunch, and I also got one for Steve-O with his head on it because he said, I want a coffee mug with my face on it.
Take it with you.
Yeah.
But do we want to sell them online? Is that what you want to do?
Oh, you've got to. That's another thing
I found this
that you've
deal
got to do.
online.
Yeah.
I was
Sure.
like, it was like 70% off or something. And that big box down by the front door that I asked Douglas to bring up into the playroom, and he never did. Because that's the one son who
They
never
want
does
dose. They don't want ask. They want dose mugs.
I
Do you have
got
dose mugs?
doses too.
Okay, good.
I
So
got dose.
how do you ship them out? You
I
can't
don't
really-
know. That's the thing. I gotta
can
find the
help.
little mug boxes and shit and get on it.
All right. Well,
myself
there's
in my free time.
a hungry public there for your products, my dear. So
Well, we'll have to figure out how to make it worth my while. So yeah, but we'll do that. I'll work on it. I'll open the box tomorrow, and we'll have a contest or something.
Okay.
That'll be so much fun.
okay.
yeah.
So it's been
So,
a pleasure. Great to see you.
But
Been too
yeah,
long.
she's coming back tomorrow.
You're coming
with
back
Dr.
tomorrow, so
Yo.
we'll do it for real. They'll figure out what the technical problem is. We'll have
God.
Dr. Yogender in here tomorrow, and we're
Well-
going to get a little heady. We're going to get, and I need you to keep us kind of making sense because we'll go off in outer space.
I
you
don't know
know.
why I should be able to plug 3 cameras in. This is utter and total BS. And also, we figured out what happened yesterday. If anybody wants to know, if you have any interest in seeing Dr. Zelenko with his voice in the video, not just Drew talking to thin air, go to youtube.com/Dr. Drew. Caleb said he'd upload it on Locals, but it's not there. But the link is on Locals. The link, I posted the link on Twitter, and you can actually hear what the man said during the show yesterday. We found out for some reason the Cable A Zoom just clicked off. But Caleb helped me fix it after the show, so it should work.
Thank you,
next
Crazy
time.
Mook. Crazy Mook is reassuring you that they don't remember these tech problems. This was a good show.
I
And-
love
and-
Caleb because he's good at what he does, but today he's busy. So
Okay, but listen, I feel, you correct me if I'm wrong, that we have a great little community here, and we appreciate you guys being here.
yeah,
Your comments, I've been trying to keep up on them, and
they
I
don't
appreciate
hate my
them.
mistakes.
They don't hate your mistakes. They love Kay. We are lucky to have people who want to congregate with us, and we are happy to do
Now I've
it.
got to
So
take those 3 videos and put them together into one because they're in 3 parts.
Oh, you guys should use my guy for that, Danny. So my my manager, my business partner, Danny Ho. I basically show up, I record for an hour, and then I leave. And then 3 days later, Danny's like, "For fuck's sake, I finally finished the video. I finally finished the editing." And he does all of this for me. I don't know what I would do without. I mean, I wouldn't have a career without him at this point.
But
let's be
also,
honest.
everybody who's out there, please share Dr. Zelenko's video because he took time out of his day. He showed up, and he's just a brilliant guy. He's trying to help communities.
he has an interesting perspective. Don't fear interesting perspectives. Dr. Victory tweeted something today, and I said, "No, it's an interesting." I just said interesting because it's an interesting perspective, and I put it on a tweet. You're interested in killing grandma? It's like,
Don't forget about the Zelenko protocol.
the Zelenko protocol. We're going to have Catherwood on Monday.
There it is.
There it is. Oh my God! If you saw it, it's like
there it was.
that's what you call a tachistoscope.
You could Google it. We have and then tomorrow will bring Kay back in, and also Mike Catherwood's going to be on the Locals Zoom. So
We'll bring a big.
you got to
group
sign
into
up
that.
on Locals to get on into the Zoom call, and we'll let you in.
All right, we'll see.
And he'll be a lot of fun.
Oh, he's lovely. I think he came on one of the first shows that we did, actually.
He's still alive. He sent me a picture of a cactus. I used to have this cactus that looked like a huge phallus, and I used to crack everybody up. Now it kind of spun around and it had a bunch of babies. But anyways,
Like
he
most
sent me one
penises.
yesterday that looked like a woman's leg and a clitoris and a prolapsed anus. I couldn't believe
Susan,
it.
thank you for sharing that on the stream.
I did.
Terry
I'll post
Kaufman.
that on my social
Terry
media
Kaufman,
if
you're
can send
saying
it.
you just listened to my podcast with the lady. I'm not quite sure what you're getting at there. You mean the psychologist I was talking to?
Okay.
Did that one
I'm
up?
not a lady.
I'm gonna stay
You talking
on the
about
stream until I
Kate,
get an
Dr.
answer.
Kate?
No, Andrew Ashkazvili. There will be no OnlyFans. Sorry. I have Susan. If you want to have, if you want to do that,
up on an OnlyFans.
Susan
though,
can do
you
that if she
guys.
wants. That's her thing. Let's see. Yeah, people are reacting to you, Susan. So.
I swear to God, at least it wasn't a real one. It was an actual cactus. But I love
know.
those cactuses are so funny.
Terry, Susan
Anyways,
Heitler on my podcast. That was but you're saying that people, I think that was the psychologist. And you said people are feeling that way, meaning what, Terry? I'm not quite sure what you're getting at. I don't remember that conversation that well.
I mean,
Everybody
I think
wants to see the cactus strip.
No.
Yeah, I feel like the general gist for today's show is like, yes, the world is falling apart. Yes, things are crazy, but it's not permanent. And if we just all come from a place of like love, understanding, and an ability to listen to one another, we can actually overcome a lot of the mental health decline.
I'm even I think it's a tall order. Oh yeah, Terry, the yes and but. Yes, absolutely. She was very instructive with that.
With what?
My podcast that's up right now, the Dr.
Yes
Drew
and
podcast,
but?
is a very interesting psychologist who was advocating for a certain kind of approach to therapy, and it was a really interesting conversation. But you're actually asking for a tall order, which is universal love and acceptance. And I'm just saying,
if John Lennon can do it, I'm not going to be able to.
But
do it.
just hang in with other people and just be kind.
Okay.
And just be and let's look forward to
Don't be
social
a cunt
engagement.
in public.
There you go. We're going to leave it at that. Thank you, Kay.
I agree. Don't
Follow
be a
her
cunt
at
in public. Thank you, Kay.
ksmythe.com, and we'll see you all tomorrow.
We'll be very much more professional and sciencey tomorrow.
Sciencey. The sciencey part, yes. Everything else, no.
Okay, bye.
Bye. According to SAMHSA's National Survey on Drug Use and Health, approximately 20.3 million people above the age 12 suffer from substance use disorder. Incredible. The disease of addiction takes an average of 130 Americans every day. Sadly, the opioid crisis, which many consider the worst pandemic of our time, has been even further perpetuated by the spread of COVID-19. Since the start of the coronavirus outbreak, drug overdoses have increased by 18%. Factors like economic stress and social isolation have led to increased depression and unnecessary deaths. A Better Life Recovery is a premier addiction treatment center in Southern California, offering one of the most highly regarded and comprehensive addiction treatment programs in the United States. Dedicated to helping its clients achieve complete inner and outer transformation, they offer a 45 to 90-day program custom tailored to meet the needs of each individual client. Long-term is the way to go. Many of A Better Life's clients elect to stay up to 9 months to receive additional support. A Better Life Recovery will do whatever it takes for as long as it takes to ensure the success of every client. Are you ready for a better life? Go to abetterliferecovery.com or call 866-581-4401 now.